Hi, I'm Wayne Jennings, and I'm out for a little springtime backpacking trip. It's a gorgeous day, and when I'm on a trip like this, of course, I have to realize that everything I'm carrying fits on my back. So weight is always a concern. Of course, I always like to document these trips so I can post them to YouTube later. So having a small, good quality camera is very important, and it's equally important something that, say, fits in my top pocket, so I can just grab it, get the shot as I see it. So today I'm checking out this little camera. This is called the VanTop Moment 5C. Now, to be quite honest with you, I was not really familiar with the VanTop brand camera, but the company contacted me, asked me if I wouldn't mind doing a review of their latest camera. So I said, yeah, sure, send me one. I'll take it out on a little adventure and I'll check it out. All right, so before I get to the technical aspects of this little camera, I'm actually going to fire it up, turn it on, and I'm going to start recording. So here's a shot of me on the little action camera here. So I'm going to head down the trail here. I won't be using this camera for a little while. Instead, I'll be recording everything. I'll try different resolutions so you can see the quality produced by this little action camera. The VanTop Moment 5C action camera utilizes an eye-catch technology V39 processor combined with a Sony IMX078 image sensor, allowing this camera to shoot 4K video at 30 and 60 frames per second, 2.7K video at 30 frames per second, 1080 video at 30, 60, and 120 frames per second, and 720 video at 60, 120, and 240 frames per second. And it will record still photos at resolutions of up to 20 megapixels. All this in a compact camera weighing just 65 grams. That's about 2.3 ounces. And it retails for around $90 to $100. This camera package comes standard with all the accessories shown here. Of course, you get the camera itself, but you also get this waterproof housing, pressure rated to a depth of 30 meters. That's about 100 feet. I just need to jump in and talk a bit about the underwater capabilities of this camera. It's got a nice rugged housing, no doubt about that, and it is rated for a depth of 30 meters, but I notice it has this dome-shaped port on the front. It looks really cool, but it's been my experience in the past that any of these action cameras with the dome-shaped port, well, they just do not maintain their focus underwater. I mean, to do that, you need one of these cameras that has a flat port on the front. That will give you sharp focus. Unfortunately, this camera does not do that. I tried it out in my swimming pool. I was really disappointed. Everything was soft and blurry. So do not expect to be using this camera, at least not with this housing, for snorkeling or scuba diving, because you're going to be disappointed. There's a secondary back door for this housing that is not waterproof because it has these open slots in it. This allows you to record better audio, and you can also run a strap through this opening to help secure your camera to something like a pole or a tree branch. And then it's perfectly set up if you want to get that selfie shot. You get a cage that the camera just snaps into, and it features a top and a bottom tripod socket. And there's this spring-loaded clip that easily slides into the back of the cage. There's a nice assortment of camera mounts, including a handlebar mount and some tripod adapters. You get 2 lithium-ion rechargeable batteries rated at 1050 milliamp hours. You also get a 2-slot battery charger and a USB cable. There's a 2-button remote, which allows you to record video or snap photos from a distance. This camera comes with 2 quick-release plates. One of them has a metal tripod socket in the middle, and it has a flat bottom. This other one has a slightly curved bottom for mounting to something like a helmet, and you get 2 extra self-adhesive pads. There's a selection of straps, zip ties, a lanyard, and Velcro strips to help secure your camera. Of course, there's a user manual, and it even comes with a lens cleaning cloth. Now, the camera comes packaged in this clear plastic display case, but when you remove this, you can dispose of that because you really don't need it, but I suggest you keep the black plastic base that the camera is attached to because it makes a perfect stand for shooting all those low-level shots. This action camera is similar in size and shape to a lot of other action cameras out there on the market. Small, lightweight, the front of course dominated by the wide-angle lens and your power button. On this end we have our ports. There's a HDMI, a USB, and of course your micro SD card slot. On the bottom of the camera, here's a nice feature to see. It has a metal tripod socket, and beside it is the battery door, which is hinged with this nice spring-loaded metal hinge. So that looks pretty durable. On the far side of the camera here, we have a couple of buttons to help navigate the menu when you're not using the touch screen, and there's a little speaker on the bottom here. And on the top of the camera, we have our shutter release button. There's an LED beside it that glows when it's recording and when you have Wi-Fi connected. And these little holes beside it here, that is the microphone. Now on the back is a 2-inch touch screen. We'll just power it on the front here, and you'll see there is the screen. It is touchscreen. When you first turn it on, it defaults to the video icon at the top. You can change to photo mode just by swiping from either side. It just changes to the photo mode. Either side you can change back or forth. If you swipe up from the bottom, you can go in, and now that I'm in the video mode, I can go in and change if I want to do time lapse or slow motion or fast motion or connect to Wi-Fi. The same goes for if I'm in the photo mode here. If I swipe up from the bottom, I can go in and change certain settings. So I can shoot in the burst mode, time lapse, self-timer, long exposure, things like that. Then within the specific modes like video, if I click on this little icon here, I get all the settings that you can go in, scroll through and set, whether it's the resolution, setting the exposure compensation, the white balance. I can go in here, change the resolutions, just scroll through and pick the one I want. There's also a sub-menu here that lets you go in and change a few other things, like turning the sound on and off, having a date timestamp on your camera, formatting the card, things like that. Now, of course, this is touchscreen, so you can't actually use the touchscreen feature when it's in the underwater housing, and that's where these side buttons come in handy. If you click the front button here, you get this kind of sub-menu, and then you can use these side buttons to cycle through. And then when you find one you want, you hit the top button, and that takes us in, and then you can make different adjustments using these side buttons. So whether it's in the housing or whether it's out of the housing, the menu is fairly straightforward and pretty easy to navigate. This camera has a built-in distortion correction function. With these wide-angle lenses, you get that fisheye look. If you look behind me, you notice the horizon has kind of a curved look to it. Well, when we turn that feature on, it gets rid of that. So now I've turned the distortion correction function on, and as you can see, that horizon is nice and level, no more of that fisheye look. Although this is an automatic camera, you can tweak the white balance by selecting automatic, daylight, shade, tungsten, fluorescent, or underwater. And there's an EV setting for adjusting the exposure up or down by 2 stops in 1-stop increments. This camera has a feature called electronic image stabilization, or EIS. Now right now that feature is turned off. I'm just walking down this path holding the camera in front of me on a selfie stick just to show you how it looks. I'll turn that feature on. I'll go back, retrace my steps, and we'll see if it makes a difference. All right, so this is that same shot with the electronic image stabilizer turned on. I've retraced my steps, walking down the same terrain, holding the camera in front of me on the selfie stick. So this gives you an idea how the EIS works. It steadies things out, reduces some of the shake. It's actually not bad for a built-in stabilizer. This camera does a nice job when shooting slow motion. There's a setting that allows you to shoot 2 times slow motion, and a setting that will shoot 4 times slow motion, and when shooting at 240 frames per second, you get this very nice 8 times slow motion effect. This camera will also shoot fast motion at up to 15 times normal speed. All right, I'm going to do a little audio test here. Just to let you know, right now I'm using this digital audio recorder with a plug-in microphone, and I basically use this on all my productions to get good, clean sound. But I'm going to turn it off, then you hear my voice as the camera records it. So let me just stop this now. Okay, what you're hearing now is my voice being recorded on the VanTop Moment 5C, and it's about a meter away from me, about arm's length. And it is a nice quiet day. I'm quite pleased with the audio, because normally with these inexpensive action cameras, I find they really have bad quality audio, but I'm quite pleased with the results I'm getting on this camera. For time-lapse video, you can record a frame every 1, 3, 5, 10, 30, or 60 seconds. For still photos, you have resolution options of 2, 5, 8, 10, 14, 16, or 20 megapixels. There's also a burst photo mode, a self-timer mode, and a long exposure mode. This VanTop action camera can be operated remotely using the supplied remote control. It's very simple, but it's very handy. There's just 2 buttons on there. If you hit this one, it will start recording video until you hit it again, then it stops. And if you hit the red button here, it'll snap a still picture. So it's really simple, but it works. For more control though, you can use Wi-Fi and your phone. Once you've connected the camera using Wi-Fi, you just launch the app to control the camera. Now the app they suggest is this one called iSmart DV, but try as I might, I could not get it to connect. However, I found this app called iSmart Pro, which seems to work just fine. Basically, you select camera there, and it connects to your camera. And as you can see, the image on here is the image that the camera sees. At the top here, it has some information. Let's put it to the video mode there. So it shows me how much recording time I have left on that memory card, what percentage the battery is, and if I hit this little menu button, I can go in and change. It's not as extensive as the camera menu, but I can change the resolution, the white balance, the megapixel size, things like that. I can also, let's go back there. I can also start recording remotely just by hitting this button down here. So now it's recording video. And of course, if I stop it and change that to the camera icon, I can go in and snap a still picture. You can also view, there's an album mode on here, which shows you all your photos you've taken or all your videos. You can preview them and play them. So it's a really easy way to operate this camera remotely. Well, to sum up, I'm really impressed with the quality of the video produced by the VanTop Moment 5C action camera. I mean, considering the price point, it's around $100. It shoots really, really good video, and I'm really impressed with the quality of the audio. A lot of these inexpensive action cameras have really bad audio, but not this one. It's really, really nice. The other thing I liked about it, it has an exposure compensation, but I didn't have to adjust it. A lot of these little cameras, I find they always overexpose, and I'm always taking it down a notch or two, but not this one. It was bang on as far as exposures. The only downside when shooting video, I found, you know, it has high frame rates. It'll shoot 120 and 240, and all that was pretty good, except when I'm shooting 1080, 30 and 60 frames were great. Well, when I get to 120 frames, I noticed things started looking a little soft. The same goes with 4K. 4K at 30 looked amazing. 4K at 60, I mean, you know, the image was good. There was no dropouts, no frame rate fluctuations, but it was just a little soft. So those high frame rates, for whatever reason, I don't know, it's a bit soft. Now, the average person might not notice it, but certainly to a critical eye, it is there. So my suggestion is great camera for 1080 at 30 and 60, great camera for 4K at 30, but those higher frame rates, don't bother with. But for the price point, I would definitely recommend this camera.